Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm currently sequestered to my house waiting for something to be shipped here that needs a signature. And I thought it would be a good opportunity. I'm actually getting a new computer, part of my new filming video setup. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about what I've been using for the past year, which by the way isn't what this is being filmed on. This is some crap webcam from 2012 or something like that. So back when we first got started, I was just using, I think it was like an iPhone 6 or something like that, with a little screw-on depth lens thing. And it was kind of crap. I mean, I know you can get apps and stuff that make them a little bit better, but cell phones are just not ideal. The other thing about it is it ended up being destroyed. I mean, you're filming skating with something that you need to be able to contact people with. It's really not the best idea, especially, if your friend kicks it on accident. What are you going to do? You're going to charge him for a new phone? No, he's your homeboy. It was an accident. But it still sucks, and it's still a problem you got to deal with. So not this last March spring break, but the year prior to that, I went to see Rob Harrington down in Florida and film with him a little bit. And I left and pretty much stole his setup. I mean, I didn't actually steal it. I just stole the idea of it. Though I will say the GoPro that I have here that I'm going to talk about here in just a second is actually his. I traded him for some Metro blades, and yeah, so this is what I've been using for the past year. So in my experience, and again, I didn't go to school for anything like this or, really anything like that. I didn't take any classes. It's just been sort of a very pragmatic learn as you go type deal. And what I found is the magic number or resolution for filming skating is 1080-60. So you want 1080 because that's full HD, and you want 60 frames a second because then, I don't actually export in 60. I export in 30. And the reason for that is it just looks a little bit better. Cinematic, when you go see a movie or something like that, that's 24 frames a second. And you get some motion blur with that. And, people really like it. Some people use it for skating too. Personally, for skating, I like something a little bit quicker. Something that shows motion a little bit more defined. So that's why I go with 30. Not a big fan of 60 because things just get a little bit awkwardly crisp at that range. So here's our guy. This is the GoPro Hero 4 Silver. Really big fan of these little cameras. First of all, you can get them on eBay for $100 or less now as of 2019. And they're still viable. I mean, at that price, it's not out of the question to get another one for backup or, just for a second camera. If you want to throw one on a tripod and then use one for a follow or something like that. Totally doable at this price point. Coming back to our magic resolution and frame rate of the 1080-60, this one actually has 4 modes that can film in 1080-60. So you have linear, medium, I think they call it, wide, which is slightly fisheye, and then super view, which is your legit, I think 175 degree fisheye. And this is what I use 90% of the time for filming skating. It lets you get really up in there and it looks really cool in my opinion. I will use some of the other ones, just for B-roll shots and stuff like that. If I want to get a good shot of a building or, a fountain or something like that. You don't necessarily need fisheye for that. And a lot of times it looks a little bit weird. But for actually filming skating, that 1080 Super View is great. It's so good. Now, of course, there have been a few models that came out since this one. The Hero 5, I can't really see a reason to get. I think it's a little bit better in low light, which is something that this struggles with. But other than that, you can skip it and it would be fine. The Hero 6 I really like because it can film in 4K, which opens up a lot of possibilities. And also you can get a higher frame rate at 1080 than this guy. So if you want to go for some super slow-mo and still keep your 1080, that would be a good way to go. And the 7, of course, is great. But general rule of thumb, it seems like you can skip about every other GoPro and be fine. Other benefits of these, besides, being super cheap and having, 4 different field of view options that you can play with, which is amazing already. You don't have to rely on this to call a doctor if your homeboy falls. It is much more durable than a cell phone. Usually 90% of the time it's going to be better in low light. This still struggles with low light, but still better than a cell phone. Storage issues are a lot easier to navigate because, again, this just takes a little SD card. You can pop in another SD card and not worry about it. And it's really quick and easy to swap out the battery. So, you're out there filming for a long time. You don't want your phone to die, because then, again, if you need to call somebody or something like that, like, you're totally screwed. Or if you just want to film more, you don't have to go look for an outlet or bring one of those little external things, which you can't really like film with your phone USB cable to another thing. That's really awkward. And again, I've used this to film a ton of stuff. A good portion of Fancy Feet 1 was filmed using this. All of Fancy Feet 2, our section, was filmed using this. All of the eye stuff we filmed in the past year has been filmed using this. I mean, really, everything that's come out, from us in the past year has been filmed using this. So once you have this, and as recommended accessories, I would definitely say you need to get some SD cards if you don't already have them, and at least 2 OEM batteries, so ones that actually say GoPro on them. There are companies that make replacement batteries for GoPro. I wouldn't trust them. There are probably some good ones out there, but it's just something that I don't want to mess with. So once you got all that kind of sorted out, you have a few options. So the first option, and I think this is really popular with aggressive skating and stuff where you don't really need a whole lot of stabilization. I mean, there's a ledge in front of you and you just kind of film your homeboy on it, and that's about it. This little Scorpion Junior handle thing works fantastic for these. Again, no stabilization on this, so your stabilizers are your hands, and that's something that you have to kind of practice and get better at. However, holding this guy when it's all put together and everything like that, it's much easier to keep steady than just holding a GoPro with your hand. I wouldn't recommend holding it with your hand. It's a little ghetto, if nothing else. I love this little handle, by the way. It's got like this nice squishy grip on it. There's like tons of different positions that you can put the camera in. I've seen people put the camera sideways because that works better for them. Really opens up a lot of possibilities. My favorite one, speaking of possibilities that get opened up, is to mount one of these little lights on the top. So you can get these from Amazon for about $40, something like that. I mentioned earlier that the GoPro is not the best at filming in low light. They've gotten slightly better in subsequent models. Pretty much anything's going to be better than your cell phone, but it's not going to compare to like a DSLR or mirrorless or like an actual like video camera, anything like that. Like the sensor is just so small that physics are just kind of working against it. So with one of these, it really doesn't throw off your balance too much. You can kind of adjust the position of it forward or back to kind of compensate for that, but it really comes in handy when you're trying to film at night. Especially, again, if you're just kind of looking at one spot and your homeboy's going to go do a trick on this thing and then just kind of skate away. It's really easy to just hug close to your body and just pan around. It looks great. The big sticky point for this setup, and the reason why I don't really use it that often, is follow shots. So if you've seen any of our skating videos, you know that follow is the name of the game. We cover ground when we skate. It's just, it's what we do. It's not, here's this object, I'm going to do a trick on the object. It's, here's this whole street, and I'm going to do tricks down the whole thing. Or like, here's this big open area. Like, I'm going to take a big S pattern, and then I'm going to curve around in a circle, and then I'm going to come back, and I need you with me 100% of the time. Especially filming with this fisheye at 1080, you don't really have a lot of crop possibilities. You just you gotta get up in there and stay up in there, so to speak. Enter this guy. So this is, I don't know how to pronounce this. Zhiyun Smooth Q. This is actually an older model. I think this is the 3-axis one, and I want to say they have a 4-axis one out now that's slightly more expensive. But I'm pretty sure you can still get these. And again, I think you're looking at $100 or less for something like this. So let me put the whole thing together so you can kind of see. So first of all, you can see kind of by where things fit in that this was designed for a cell phone, which we are not using cell phones, we're using a GoPro. So you have to get yourself one of these little adapter plates, real cheap. Optional selfie stick attachment for some additional range. Okay, we got all assembled. Let's fire this bad boy up. And there you go. Perfect for chasing your homeboy wherever. And it'll keep it super smooth. You'd be surprised how far like a gimbal will go in making your stuff look more professional. Not that our stuff looks professional, but it's definitely, this is close. It's getting there, and this Zhiyun Smooth Q stabilizer thing is a big part of that, in my opinion. Big limitation of this setup is there's nowhere to put a light. So if it's dark, you're kind of screwed. I mean, maybe you can arrange some lights around the spot or something like that. But as far as having a light for follow footage, you're kind of SOL. That being said, if you want to get something similar to this using like a DSLR or mirrorless or camcorder or something like that, you're going to spend at least like 3 times as much money. So you save yourself a lot of money and headaches if you just film during the day. So that's it. That's the filming setup. That's what I've been using for over the past year. And it's worked great. No complaints. I am in the middle of upgrading from this. But the real selling point for me was the 4K. I mean, just the ability to crop and still be at 1080p just blows my mind, and I had to have it, especially for self-filming, you know. That was the big sell. You can't always get your homeboy to go out and like help you film. So just taking that out of the equation was the big selling point for me, and selling point enough to spend way more money than I did putting this thing together. That being said, when we go out and film, when Brock's in town or when I go up to Denver or something like that, this is probably still going to be the default. All the components are cheap, they've been proven to work, and there's really no reason to bust out the Hero 6. I mean, again, maybe if we're going back to like some B-roll shots or something like that, it might be nice to have the 4K. But for just chasing Brock around with a GoPro, Hero 4 Silver all day. There's no reason to have anything else. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. I hope this helped you. See you later.